And it hits me, oh my gosh, this is that triangle.
You know, there's explanation for everything that occurred in the Rendlesham Forest incident that doesn't involve aliens at all.
It was completely silent. It comes right over our heads.
He saw a classic flying saucer, really, standing in the clearing.
He turned over to my father and held his hand, and he looked in his eyes, and he said, "We're not alone."
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Martin Willis, your host, and we're coming at you live like every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard on the Dark Matter Radio Network. If you're listening live, please join our chat room at Podcast UFO. We have a fun show for you this evening. Alejandro Rojas from Open Minds is coming right up with the news. And our guest tonight is Sheila Martin, a.k.a. Sheilaaliens on YouTube. We'll be having Andy Fleming on about once a month with a astronomy clip. Andy's done a bang-up job, and I really appreciate that, Andy. And all right, it's time to bring in Alejandro. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Great, and I want to thank you so much for helping us out here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited to bring you some news every week because there's so much going on, and of course, we're spending all day, every day, collecting that news and posting it.
I love it. I love it. So why don't we just roll right in with the first story?
Okay, yeah, the first story. Well, I guess first I'll cover a couple MUFON things because Roger Marsh, as you know, is posting now on our site. He's the official MUFON guy, posting all of the latest that comes out of MUFON. So we've posted a couple interesting things there. One of them, which has gotten the most hits, is kind of interesting, very short story. And it was just a report from someone who said, my grandparents lived in Dayton, Ohio, and they had a friend that worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And they asked, what about these UFOs and aliens? And he said, if the public knew what was at the base from the Roswell incident, there would be a general panic amongst the public. So that was kind of a neat story, and it's just kind of fun because, I don't know how you feel, and I'd be interesting to hear. There's so much anecdotal stuff that comes along with Roswell. So many people and Wright-Patterson talking about aliens and UFOs related to Roswell and those then being transferred to Wright-Patterson that it's kind of overwhelming.
We had Stan Gordon on last week, and Kecksburg may have been brought over there, not just Roswell. We've had Don Schmidt on in the past talking about that. And Ben Hansen, I believe he believed that his grandfather might have something to do with bringing some material over there at one time. There's all types of mystery about that.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben's a good friend, and I really take it. He's an honest guy, and I think that he doesn't over-embellish. So, yeah, a lot of this anecdotal stuff is pretty substantial.
There was a story that Don Schmidt told about some, floors being sealed off there, and that makes it even more interesting.
Right, yeah. So Don Schmidt, of course, has his new book out that talks a lot about Wright-Patterson, and he's kind of saying, hey, forget Area 51, Wright-Patterson is where it's at. And he's got a lot of interesting stories in there, including, and I guess I could give a preview to people, we're going to have James Clarkson at the UFO Congress in 2015, and he talks about a lady named June Crane who was a secretary at Wright-Patterson, and she was an attractive young woman at the time, and the guys used to come and flirt, and she says over the years they told her a lot of stuff about UFOs, and it's really interesting.
Why do men always tell pretty women stuff? They're just so vulnerable.
I guess to impress them, and and I gotta say I'm a sucker for a pretty face myself, so I can sympathize.
I've tripped over myself a few times. Yeah. So what else is going on?
All right, yeah. Also from MUFON, we posted the top 10 cases from 2013. This is something new they started doing last year at the symposium where their scientific board puts together some cases. These cases this year, there were no video or even really photographic stories there, but there are some interesting drawings and stuff. But I think more interesting with this story comes some statistics for the year. So, for instance, they show that in 2012 there was about 7,500 sightings reported to them. In 2013, 6,500. Last year was kind of a landmark year, 2012, where they had a lot of sightings, a record year. So there's still a lot. This is the second as far as long as they've been tracking this, the second most reports they've gotten in a year. But that's interesting, and they do break it down from shapes. So, of course, spherical and circular are the most common. Lots of fireballs, and then, of course, you get into the triangles and things like that. Triangles are around 11% of the sightings, and then they do break it down also, which I think is interesting, on how many are unknowns or knowns, and essentially they say 32% of their cases they close as unknown.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's quite a bit, and I think this is really interesting because a lot of people think they're either unknown or hoaxes. No, actually, a lot of them are misidentifications, way more than hoaxes, and this is pretty consistent, I've seen over the years, but last year only 3% of them were closed as hoaxes.
Only 3%? Boy,
yeah.
That's kind of shocking, isn't it?
I think it is for most people. Most people assume there's a lot more hoaxes, but there aren't a lot of hoaxing going on. More so, it's just innocent, well-meaning misidentifications.
And I think that more of the hoaxing goes into, the YouTube videos. And my guest tonight and I are going to be talking about that. So,
Sheilaaliens. Yeah, she's great. We've kind of talked back and forth about different hoaxing, and I know that's something that really frustrates her, and it does all of us who are looking for legitimate information. Yeah,
and it's good to have like a watchdog out there, like with her confronting. I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, she's great. She's a breath of fresh air, I think, in this field. So
right.
They also list the foreign reports, which is interesting because they show out of all the countries that are reporting to MUFON, and I think this is interesting, the four that report the most to MUFON are Australia, Mexico, Great Britain, and Canada. I think it's interesting that out of those, Canada gives about 40% of the sightings, of the foreign sightings are from Canada. Makes sense since they're close and we partner with them. Of course, people like Stanton Friedman, Grant Cameron, other researchers are from Canada. And right now I'm writing a story today on this Toronto UFO video thing that you've probably heard about.
Yes.
So we'll have that up. But this is interesting. Great Britain and Mexico are about even. So Mexico's at 13%, Great Britain at 14%. So I thought that was really interesting because it seems that Great Britain gets a lot more attention than Mexico.
Right.
But I guess that's a good segue to another Great Britain story I was just going to mention, which you already talked about, some of the crop circles that they've had out there. But this is kind of neat. Another guy who's been sending us some reports and stories is Andreas Mueller. Andreas Mueller from Germany, and he's a UFO researcher out there, great one, and he has sent us, I don't know if you saw this was a few weeks ago, about some German Secret Service UFO files, which is really cool, but just week he sent this Wiltshire Museum piece. So they're doing a crop circle exhibition, which is pretty neat because it's a pretty big museum out there, and they're focusing on all of the beautiful pictures and everything. They asked him and another German ufologist, interesting enough, to help them put together this exhibit, even though, of course, crop circles are largely a British phenomenon. Not completely, and it's changing more and more all the time, it seems. But, this is kind of cool that they put together this exhibit, and he gives some insight into that. Sort
of on the fence with crop circles. Now, I've heard some really, really good arguments from a past guest that I had. I don't know if that really does tie into the UFO field or not. I keep going back and forth on that.
It's a really tough one, and I agree with you. I know one of my favorite crop circle people is Nancy Talbot.
That's what I was talking about, yes. Yeah,
we've got good friends. You've had her on. She's great. And she, thought there's no way that it has anything to do with UFOs. But, with all of the sightings that happen. And the other thing that I think you'd probably agree that it is tied into, and this is maybe a little loose, but maybe not, is balls of light. Because even in that recent story, one of the crop circle hoaxers, and a lot of them talk about how when they create crop circles, they still see these mysterious balls of light flying around, and those have been tied to crop circles quite a bit, and those are technically UFOs.
I guess you're right.
And, Jacques Vallée, which I'm going to mention in a minute, but, I bring him up a lot because you always have to remember there are a lot more possible explanations for UFOs than just extraterrestrials. So
that's right.
Who knows what the heck some of these phenomena that we ascribe to the term UFO, like balls of light, who knows what they could be? I mean, anything is possible.
Yep, and they are something. We just don't know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, Nancy Talbot saw this big beam of light come from the sky and create one once. So,
right. Fascinating.
Who knows?
Fascinating.
Very much so. So, yeah, Vallée, I haven't heard it yet. Was on Coast to Coast this weekend. However, I was already excited about him because this week we posted a interview that some French gentlemen did with him. A lot of French UFO researchers. They're associated with the website OVNIs Direct. And a lot of very intelligent people asked some great questions of Vallée. They actually conducted this interview in February, took them some time to put it together and put it into English, and then they sent it to us and asked if we would like to post it. And I was very enthusiastic to do so because, Vallée is one of the great minds in this field. His life is so interesting regardless of the UFO phenomena, having been a venture capitalist, an astronomer, a computer specialist, all of these things. But, a couple of the comments, I think the points he made, one of the points he made, which I thought was really good, which I think is fair, and you'd probably appreciate this, is he talks about how a lot of people ascribe different phenomena to quantum physics. And he points out we don't know much about quantum physics, and it seems like a lot of people then, because we don't know much, it's easy to just say, oh, that must be related to quantum physics. And he's kind of criticizing that. We don't know that, and just because we don't, it's kind of like dark matter. Just because we don't know what it is doesn't mean that it has anything to do with other phenomena that is unknown to us.
That's right. And, I never really give a plug for other shows and stuff, but I got to tell you, for the listener out there, if you want to check out Coast to Coast with George Knapp and Jacques Vallée, as well as Lee Spiegel, I'm telling you, it's a great, great UFO show.
Mm-hmm. And I guess George Knapp told me today that he thinks Lee Spiegel's going to write a story about the whole thing. So I hope he does, because interviews with Vallée are far and few between. I got one. I had been trying for years. I got one about a year or so ago. Got him on the show, and I don't know if I'll ever get one again. But
I wrote him a letter a
hard.
couple of years ago, right to his San Francisco address. Never heard from him. You're right. He's hard to get on a show. Hey, well, thanks so much, Alejandro. I really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to having you back next week.
Yeah, thanks. Remember, openminds.tv, there is a lot more. Just it's hard to get to all of it, but if you want to read any of these stories, and thanks so much for having me on, and I guess I'll be talking to you next week.
You bet. Okay, and now we're coming right up with Sheila Martin. Or should I say Sheilaaliens? How you doing, Sheila?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. And for those live listeners out there, don't forget to jump over in our chat room at podcastufo.com. It's real easy to sign in, just 2 clicks, and you're there. Sheila, welcome to the show.
Hi, Martin. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. I stumbled across your YouTube video, kind of debunking, not kind of debunking. I mean, you locked horns with Blake Cousins, and I loved it because the reason I found you is because I watched a couple of Third Phase of the Moon, videos up on YouTube, and I went, wait a minute, and I realized it was a money game because they can make a lot of money when you have 160,000 followers. You make a ton of money off of YouTube, so it's a business, and you confronted them all the way through. And before we get into any of that, let's talk about you and what sparked your interest and what made you figure this whole thing out.
Okay. Well, it started in Tucson, Arizona, where I grew up. It's just, there's a lot of weird things going on there. It kind of woke me up, I guess. But before that, since I was a child, I've always been interested in all things paranormal. And being in an area where I see things going on, it all just happened like naturally.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there is quite a bit going on out that way. You think about like the Phoenix Lights and all types of things. You hear about the ancient Indian culture and how they had, there's some rock drawings out there, and there's been supposedly things going on out there for quite a while.
Yeah, and Sedona, Arizona is out here. Travis Walton was abducted from Arizona.
Oh, that's right. Snowflake or whatever.
Yeah, Snowflake. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. So, so you got interested in the subject young, and then you got into looking at videos and checking things out, and then what made you decide to really call these people out? Which I applaud you for doing that, by the way, and I have no problem when someone is muddying up the waters of ufology to call them out on it. And a lot of people get mad at me, I mean, every time I talk about Dr. Stephen Greer, I make fun of him or whatever. I lose some...
I met him.
Oh, you did?
I met him, and yeah, I did.
Yeah, and you're not going to hate me now, are you?
No. I mean, he's funny. He told me my name was an insult to the aliens. My Sheilaaliens name.
Wow.
He said it insulted them or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, when someone, going back years ago, Greer, did a great job with. I don't want to say what was he had like in Washington a UFO. I can't remember what it was called at the time.
A Congress?
Like a Congress
UFO
type of
Congress.
thing. Yeah, but he actually did an excellent job. And then something happened along the way, and a lot of times it does seem to happen in this field where maybe it's popularity, maybe it's the thought of making money, possibly. I'm not really sure. Yeah. And it's kind of a joke because most people in the UFO world, the real legit people make very little, if any, money at all.
That is correct. It does seem like they start off with good intentions, and then later on they end up going to the dark side and just putting out kind of useless content. I was at the Hollywood premiere of his Sirius movie, and I wasn't impressed by it, to be honest. It was just stuff we all already know, and tacked on with some other stuff that didn't make sense about the little Atacama alien.
Yes.
Which is actually, that thing was, I talked to the scientist who did the DNA testing, and he's convinced it was human. So that's
right.
Still amazing to me. That's still cool. That would make that like an 8-inch tall human.
Yeah, and like 6 years old or something. That is a great story all in itself. But it was there was quite a claim to go way out there and say, this was an alien being without, having facts in hand, as Stan Friedman would say.
Yep, I think it is a ploy to make money. That's just how it goes for a lot of these people. And
so while we're bashing Sirius, the movie, I want to say Stephen Greer. It was a movie about Stephen Greer and his too sexy for their shirt bodyguards in that. It was really it was all about him and the free energy thing and I'm not going to go and keep bashing, but it's just that it was a real ego movie. That's it. And
it was very cliched too. It was 101 for conspiracy theories, along with everything about him.
So Sheila, up on the let's see, how did Sheila talk to the scientists? Up on the message board, we have a couple of questions.
I was invited to go to that premiere by my friend Allison Cruz. She's a UFO hunter from Pennsylvania. Seeing UFOs PA is her channel. She's friends with that scientist, and she invited me to the premiere, and we had dinner with him. So.
I see. I got to tell you a funny story. I did a silly little, and you can find it on YouTube, a silly little karaoke song about the Atacama baby, and I call it something like Dr. Greer's YouTube. I can't remember what it was, fundraising or something. But anyway, it's a lot of people got some laughs out of it. And I sent it to
I'll
him.
have to check that out.
I sent it to the scientist you're talking about. What is his name? Can you recall his name off the bat?
Nolan. Last name Nolan.
Okay. I sent it to him, and he loved it. He loved the karaoke
That is awesome.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, he's a cool guy. He's definitely cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed like it in the movie. And another question up on the board. What is your, two different people here, but what is your opinion on James Fox, and what is your opinion on Leslie Kane?
Neither of those names mean anything to me at this point. I can look into it, though.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know who they are. Do you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, James
Tell me.
Fox is the one. He's a producer, and he was in UFO, not Hunters, UFO, Chasing UFOs. And he was also in, let's see, he made some great films. And he's in the middle of making a really good one called, I believe, 701, which is the Project Blue Book cases that were unexplained, basically. And he's a real good documentary maker, made Out of the Blue, which I recommend to any listener out there. Is one of the best UFO movies, in my opinion, you'll see out there. And Leslie Kane is a journalist, and she is a journalist that has taken a real strong interest in UFOs, and she's been a guest on the show many times. And she studied the O'Hare incident, and she does a real thorough, very thorough job.
I'd be happy to check those two out. Leslie Kane and what was the first name?
James Fox.
I'm going to check them out. Those are all topics that I'm very interested in myself, so I'm sure I'll find whatever they're talking about interesting. But I can't comment at this point in time. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go back to third phase of the moon, and how did you get? You were on their show, or did you talk to them offline?
They invited me to be on their show, and they kept bugging me about it. I didn't want to at first, but I was like, I'm just going to do it once and for all, and just somebody has to do it. So I did it, and they actually wanted me to come back as a reoccurring guest. They loved it, probably because it got them ratings or whatever, but they have no shame. They wanted me to come back and keep debunking them week after week.
Are you serious?
I didn't
know that. They
they're
invited
silly.
you back.
Oh, yeah, they wanted me to be a reoccurring guest. Yeah.
Isn't
that funny?
I bet, with one of their videos, in the view in the millions, I bet they're making six figures off their YouTube channel per year.
Yeah, I think they have like over 100,000 subscribers, so yeah, they're probably making good money.
Yeah, and
Yep.
And the thing
it's
I liked,
disgusting.
Yeah, I liked the way you never backed down to them, and I just can't get over the fact that they actually invited you back. That is a riot. Because I saw the way you confronted them, and if it were me, I would have stopped the show if I were them.
Oh, really? Was I that mean? I don't.
No.
I never
But
watched it
you
myself.
exactly called them on exactly what they were doing. And
yeah, the thing is, they don't have shame. It doesn't affect them whatsoever. They love it. I think sometimes that they think it's a joke, like the way that you'll see them in their own videos, or one of them will be in the video because they're twins, right? Mm-hmm. And it just seems like they're almost joking the way that they talk. I don't know. It's a joke to them for sure. They wanted me to keep coming back just to debunk them so they could get more views.
Yeah, that's probably right. Just like Barnum, P.T. Barnum used to say, good, bad, or indifferent, publicity is publicity. And yeah. So now I also found on your Facebook page, I believe it's on your Facebook page, it has your list of verified blacklisted hoax channels on YouTube. Can you go over that?
Sure. Those are channels that are known to have hoax videos, and many of them are connected with one another and set up by the same people. I found a lot of them through going to the hoaxkiller.com. Mm-hmm. They have forums, and they just intricately debunk these channels on a visual aspect, like they analyze the video itself, and then the audio, sometimes they catch them that way, and they can find out that this person owns that channel and that channel, so they put it all together. So I just added it to a list.
I see.
It is good to know, yeah. There's a lot out there.
I know, I've talked many times on this show over and over again about and I'm not sure. I know that we were having Skype trouble, excuse me, at the beginning of the show. But when I was talking to Alejandro Rojas, he was saying that only 3% of MUFON sightings that are reported are hoaxes, which to me, I had no idea it was that low. But when you go on YouTube, I would say 75 to 80% of the UFO videos are hoaxed. You know, I'm just throwing out a raw number. I don't know. But
yeah, that makes sense to me, though, because nobody really knows about the MUFON reporting system and that they can upload their videos there. So if they do upload it there, you know, it's because they had a sighting or they think they had a sighting. But on YouTube, you know, it's just spam. It's
now, was that sound effects in the background?
Here, that was my Skype.
No. I heard a fire engine go by. You're right in.
Oh, yeah,
you're right in the West Coast. You're. Do we say where you are? Do you want to say where you are?
That's fine. I'm in West Hollywood, California.
And you moved there from Phoenix how long ago?
I moved from Tucson about a year and a half ago.
I'm sorry, Tucson.
Yeah.
And and let me just ask you something. When you were in, say, Arizona, did you connect with any people other than the internet that had, that shared your fascination at all?
Actually, no, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to do that because nobody there that I knew of was really into that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Unlike out here, I've already met a couple people who are in, kind of big names in that realm of things. But no, not in Tucson.
Yeah, I know. I went. Pardon me. I went. A really good place to find people like that, though, locally, is actually Facebook. Pardon me, everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't have a Facebook channel or a Facebook page until after my channel had already gotten terminated on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to stay in touch. So.
Right. Okay. Now, I have your page up right now, and you know what? I'm going to read to the listening audience some of the channels here that you called out as hoaxers. Just so, I think it never hurts to get this. It's a negative thing, but in my opinion, it never hurts to get this type of news out there. So, third phase of the moon, we've already just discussed that. These are all YouTube channels, I believe. Maybe some of them are internet. You can correct me. N Destination Unknown.
Yeah, that's a channel.
That's a channel. Okay. And I'm just going to go over these, and you can just say what they are. XXX Donuts with a Z, XXX,
okay.
UFO Book, UFO Files TV, Crazy Breaking News, 8/11, 8th, Secret Science TV, 7TH Area. Is that all the same person?
A lot, I think so. If I need to take a look at my list, but yeah, there's
They're
a
all
group
grouped
of those
together. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's all the same person. But yeah, those are all YouTube channel names.
Yep. And IMAX Cash. That sounds like a hoax.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Omega UFO Channel. Galaxy Music 69. This is for everyone to listen out there. If you like to watch videos, she has checked these out thoroughly. The ufology TV. They were found guilty of taking an old rocket launch and labeling it as a new UFO. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephen Hannard, ADGUK. You'd have to look at this. I'm actually, if it's okay with you, I'm going to post this up under the show notes, this list.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Stephen Hannard is pretty well known. I think he has a podcast even, or a website. So.
Oh, is that right? On UFOs or paranormal in general?
He basically just leeches off of other people's stuff, and then he'll also post hoaxes and purposefully mislabeled videos and stuff like that.
I got it.
I don't know. Yeah.
And then we have J. Is this all him? JCATTERA?
No, that's a different person.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have J. Frisna, Skyquake 2012, Q7 TV.
Yep. Those are all separate people.
Okay. So I don't want to spend too much time in this, but I just wanted to get those names out there for the people. And again, if you're listening live, you can jump in on our chat room at podcastufo.com and ask Sheila a question. Here's one up on the message board, and I don't exactly know what this means, but I'm going to read it anyway. Have you seen the Megadeth guy new vid?
Megadeth. Oh yeah. Okay. It's the singer from Megadeth. I think it was.
Okay.
He recorded what was supposed to be some UFOs on what night was it? The night of the full moon. I think it was July 13th. And it's ridiculous. I think it's just a straight up CGI fake. It's pretty bad footage, but yeah, I don't get what he's doing there. Maybe a PR stunt.
Oh, okay. Another question up there. Have you ever had any sightings of your own?
I have. I don't know if the listeners know that I started off as a UFO hunter for 3 years when I lived in Tucson. So I would hunt UFOs every night and upload them. So yes, I've had plenty of sightings myself.
Oh, and what would you see, lights in the sky or something?
Yeah, well, they come in many different type of forms, but basically the orbs that everybody talks about, there's a lot of those over there in Tucson, as well as what look like military aircraft, like special secret type of aircraft, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So orbs and aircrafts, yeah.
Now, are there any military bases nearby?
There's Davis Monthan Air Force Base, 13 miles away, and 70 miles away is Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Uh-huh. There's a question up there asking if you were hunting for, let's see, hunting for what group? I'm not really sure what that means. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So when you were doing this, did you do this by yourself?
90% of the time I was, just by myself at night in Tucson, Arizona. All I had to do was open my front door because the apartment I ended up living in just had a bird's eye view of this mountain and everything was just right in front of me.
Now, a lot of times you hear about strange lights and orbs and things like that. A lot of times when there's mountains around, and there's some people theorizing now, yes, they are UFOs because they're unidentified, but there are people theorizing that it might have to do with some type of metal deposits in the mountains, that like a natural type phenomena, and I could believe it, except the only thing that I don't believe is natural is when these things make zigzags and really strange moves and then shoot off in the distance real fast. That can't be plasma or something else,
I think that theory is a complete reach, because I've seen the experiment carried out where they rub the limestone together and it makes a little glow, but they have to have the lights off to even see it. It doesn't make a orb that detaches and flies away. So, that theory is just a reach, I think. I don't think it explains it.
Uh-huh. There's another question up there. Do you know if there's any significance to the green fireballs? Did you see any green ones?
I haven't personally, but online I've heard about them. I think the green ones, I forget how it goes, but it'll tell you online they might be meteors or they could be re-entering satellites or space debris. Sometimes the metal will burn green or any kind of special, whatever the meteor might be composed of, might also cause it to burn green.
Yep. Now, someone's asking if you had any plans to do any UFO hunting in California.
I'd love to, but right now I live in West Hollywood, and the light pollution here.
I was going to say a little light pollution there.
Yeah, the skies are just, at night, they're just milky white, bright, with overcast. It's weird. So I can't do much with that at the moment, and I'm also not mobile, but as soon as I get a car, I'll happily drive outside the city a little bit and whip out the camera.
It doesn't take all that much because, I've been in that whole area. You can get away from the light. I think there's a couple of people on the message board that I think that are asking, because someone wrote, Sheila actually used traffic cams at one point to check out UFOs. She's also videoed them, too, a good friend of mine, too.
Yeah, that's how I got my start, I guess, and I was interviewed on the local news station because of this, because I was using the controllable webcams online that are stationed downtown in Tucson. I was using those UFO hunt because I didn't have my own camera and I would record the screen, but, looking back, that was very inconclusive, but the passion for it started right there.
Wow. Now, there is a great video I have seen online of some type of cam. I don't know if it was a traffic cam or not, but it looks down like over the hill toward the road, and it showed this. It's great. It's one of the best videos of like an object that like floats over and then stops, and then a little object comes out of it. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that online somewhere, but it's a great one.
Maybe. I don't know if you're talking about the Sakurajima. Was there like smoke or anything?
It could have been. Yeah, I haven't seen it for quite a while.
I'm sure I've seen it. I'm just not sure exactly which one you mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. I mean, there's so many. Like I said,
yeah.
Would you sort of agree with me when I'm saying or do you think I'm off when I'm saying that about 75% of them are hoaxes? Do you think it's a lot less? I mean, on YouTube.
No, on YouTube, no, I think nowadays that's pretty accurate. That's true. All the ones that get the most views are hoaxes, but there are some UFO hunters that regularly post their videos all the time, and they don't get many views, and they're out there and they have good equipment and everything. But the hoaxes are the loudest ones because there are people out there that are interested in making money off of that. So of course they're going to start doing that.
Right. I often wonder what it is that makes someone, besides, of course we talk about people that are making money off the videos because they have so many people watching the videos. But for the average Joe out there, what type of thrill? I mean, have you thought about that? What type of thrill does someone have to get? Is it they're trying to appear like superior, that they can fool everybody? Or I just don't get why hoaxers hoax.
Nowadays, I think it literally just has to do with AdSense and placing ads on their videos to make the money. But prior to that, it might have been for notoriety. I mean, popularity. And in the case of Third Phase of Moon, they fancy themselves actors, and I think maybe they might want to land a gig or something. So everybody's got an agenda.
Right. Yep. Someone asked, I don't even know if you would even know what this is, but someone's asking if you know anything about a giant bird over the fire in Colorado?
Oh, it's a video I posted a couple years ago of a fire in Colorado. It was a forest fire, and there's a night vision video of, I guess, but it's during the daytime, infrared during the day. And I guess it looked like a gigantic bird-sized thing flew over the fire. But nowadays, I would say that video is just inconclusive.
Right.
Maybe it was a pterodactyl, maybe it was a bluebird, I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you hear about these people. Sometimes will say, they think they saw something like a pterodactyl or something. It's bizarre, They have a lot of pterodactyl sightings out here. My significant other he claims he saw one with his friend. Believe it or not, Pacific Palisades pterodactyl sightings. I would love to see a pterodactyl. That would be so fun. Yeah.
But that's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's so funny.
And people are actually claiming they're actually seeing these things. And I wonder what exactly it is. I mean, I don't know if I could quite buy the fact that it's an actual pterodactyl, but,
It's far out, but for some reason, it happens right in the same area in Griffith Park and Pacific Palisades. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a bird or something that's not native.
Who knows? Albatross?
An albatross, maybe.
Someone wants to know if you ever check Peter Davenport's website, to cross-check reports. Are you familiar with Peter Davenport? He has the NUFORC, NUFORC.
Oh, I'm familiar with that website, but I don't check on his updates though.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a person that checks so much on updates of what's happening as far as sightings go. You're more or less looking at the videos and kind of going through them and seeing what's appears to be right and what is not. Is that
no? It's just that I consider myself sort of like a news aggregator, so I don't really go to other news aggregators for anything. Like, I'm just weird like that. I just go and find whatever interests me at the moment, and I go with that. But I don't just look for something to debunk. I'm just interested all around.
Yes,
in the whole topic.
I didn't mean to paint you that way because
Oh no.
yeah, I know that
Fine.
I know you have been posting a lot longer before you started actually debunking people. But it just
That's right.
shows that your interests just grew, and you just looked into things a little more serious.
And it just happens to be that a lot of things just need debunking, or there's always something incorrect about what's being passed around as the truth. I just pointed out. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, and I hope you continue to do that. And so just to let everyone know who's listening live, you can jump over to our chat room at podcastufo.com, and it's a 1-2 click, sign up, you're in, and you can ask Sheila a question. We have a number of people in there right now. And so now that's someone just said that it's not too far from the LA Zoo where the pterodactyl is. Is that true?
I haven't heard about. I don't know what area the LA Zoo is in, but yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, as far as people saying that that's where it is, because that sounds like somewhere a pterodactyl would like to live. But I think people would have spotted it and got it on camera by now.
Yeah, and they'd probably feed it too. Get food over there.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. So, have you considered? You have your own YouTube channel. Do you actually make videos, or do you just the ones that I've seen up there are ones that you find and you post? But do you ever make any videos yourself?
I do. Like I said, my original videos for the first couple years were just my raw UFO hunting videos that I recorded, but I kind of branched off into making videos about everything that interests me, conspiracies or strange happenings. I'm very into like fireballs and cool-looking clouds and weird, just anything interesting that happens to happen that's a mystery. But nowadays, I plan to start making more videos soon. I just haven't had privacy in about a year and a half due to my living situation. But I'm moving, and I just feel weird making videos with everybody around and stuff. But yeah, hopefully I'll be getting back into that. I got a new laptop, and I'll be getting back into that. But I used to compile videos with different contributors that I found regarding one subject. Like I'll do a compilation video of a tornado that happened, and I'll find all these different perspectives and views from different people that recorded it, and I'll put it together and put their name in the corner, when it's their clip. So, but I have to be more careful these days because YouTube took my main channel down a couple years ago for copyright.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, because you had other people's, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Disney and some other big name company. I can't remember.
Yeah, Disney will do it. That's for sure.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Another question up on the board here is there was an earthquake that happened in L.A., and it was a big one, and there was a UFO spotted during that time. Did you ever know anything about that?
If they're referring to the one that happened on my birthday, was March 17th. It was the biggest one that's happened around here in some years or something like that. But I didn't hear anything about a UFO being seen along with that, if he's referring to that one.
And someone wants to know what your theory is on UFO, alien abductions. I'm sorry, there's a lot of people in the chat room, so the messages are moving around fast.
No problem. I believe that it's a real phenomenon. It's never happened to me, but I think it does happen to some people. And I don't know, maybe it is the gray aliens abducting people. Who knows?
Yeah, it was one of the subjects when I started the show that I was totally on the fence on. And then after talking to people like Travis Walton and a few other people, that I totally believe their story. I just became a little more open-minded to it, that if there is indeed, if we are being visited, what would we do if we were visiting somewhere? We'd inspect, the living creatures So it certainly makes sense that it's
Yeah.
very possible.
And Travis's story hasn't changed over all these years, and it is very compelling. You can just tell, he's telling the truth. So something weird is going on there for sure.
Yeah. I sat right across from him and talked to him, and I don't have a doubt in my mind he's telling the truth. And it's such a bizarre story.
It is. I'd like to have aliens come visit me, but they don't.
I know, you made your name like that and everything. It might work.
Yeah, maybe they won't be insulted by it.
Yeah, well, they might.
my name.
They might find you on Facebook.
Hopefully they add me on Twitter.
Yeah. So what do you think, what's the future of Sheilaaliens?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Or, I'm just waiting to see what direction this goes. I'm not sure. I'm floating around in Hollywood. I love it here, having a great time. At the same time, it's not conducive to UFO hunting until I guess get a vehicle or move somewhere where there's not so much light pollution. But I can still make other videos about other things. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to start making my channel more active, uploading more videos, and just see what happens.
Well, we have Pam Z up on the message board, and she says that you need to get your own podcast.
Me?
Yeah, that's
everyone tells me that. They tell me that, but I don't know. I don't like to, hear myself talk a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's. I think it'd be all right. It would be fun, and it's actually.
Yeah. I mean, I got all the topics in the world I can think of to talk about. I just have to, I guess, get over my shyness.
Yeah. There you go. Well, you're doing fine.
Well, thank you.
And someone says you need to be on TV instead. But, okay, so in the future, you're not really sure what you're going to be doing. But I would say that there are a number of like-minded people in your area. You're not too far from Stephen Bassett. Do you know who he is?
Sounds familiar, but it doesn't ring a bell.
Oh,
exactly.
he's the only lobbyist that has to do with disclosure and the UFO. He's a Washington lobbyist. And he's right. He's not too far away from you. And Yvonne Smith, who's going to be a guest next week, everyone, she does hypnotic regressions for, abductees, and she's going to be on our show. She lives, I visited her when I was out there. She lives not too far away from you as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out here that are into that. So I was lucky to meet some of them at that premiere of Sirius. So
oh, yeah.
It is cool to be out here.
Yeah, that's right. There's someone, I think they're asking a question. Are you familiar with the person that claims he's speaking to aliens through his cell phone?
No.
Okay.
That one sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I got to see that.
Yeah, okay.
How fun.
So, yeah, that's up on the message board. Okay, I wish we could take calls. If you want to ask Sheila a question, go to our chat room on podcastufo.com and throw a question out for Sheila if you'd like. And I'm just trying to read. There was quite a few of them that came in. I'm just going to pull back and see if we have any more up here. And we
Do you not take calls?
The funny thing is I can take a call and I can give out a number, but as soon as I do, then I lose everyone. I lose you, and I haven't been able to figure that out. Because
well,
we don't want that to happen. So,
certainly not.
Yeah.
All right.
And we've got it looks like we've got somewhere around 10 minutes or so. And so we can move on to another subject we've talked about. Abductions and all that, and let's see. Pam Z wants to know what you think about UFOs over volcanoes. Are you familiar with that phenomenon?
I'm sorry, what was that? UFOs over volcanoes?
Yes.
I am familiar with it, and I think there's just as much UFO activity surrounding volcanoes as there are mountains, and they do seem to be attracted to both of those things. Maybe it's the energy from the Earth releasing itself, like the theory goes, or maybe there's a reason that they are attracted to those areas that's giving them energy, and they're actually other beings, or they're being controlled by other beings. I think it's a legit phenomena, and it needs to be looked into more.
Another person wants to know, do you have any certain techniques or methods that you use when you're UFO hunting?
Yeah, well, I would just say be persistent, first of all. And, of course, they say, use a tripod. Try to use a tripod if you can. But if you're, you can't. There's a lot of things you can't do if you have it on a tripod. So if you're going to have it in your hand, obviously, keep it steady. Don't keep it, make sure your camera is not on autofocus, because what you're trying to film is a UFO, and it's far away. And if you have an autofocus, it's going to focus on the closest thing to your camera, which might be a tree or somebody's pant leg, who knows. So you want to have it on manual focus or set to infinity. Also, try to use night vision if you can.
Now, does that always work for? Does that always work in, to say, if you see a light? I've never used it. If you see a light, does the light actually show real green? I mean, if you don't use it, can you still get an image?
It depends on the camera you're using, but with my Sony Handycam, it has a night shot mode, and until you flip it on, the light might just look like a speck of light on black, and then you turn it on and it illuminates the trees, it illuminates everything. If it's a certain type of night vision, it'll be green. It doesn't have to be green though. I forget why exactly some night vision is green, but some infrared cameras are just whitewashed, and there's other versions of that as well. So.
Okay. Are we? Let's see, Keith, if you're listening, are we having trouble with Skype right now? I'm sorry, everyone. Oh, okay. We're all set. And have you ever tried to interact with any UFOs? This is a question up on the board.
I have.
Okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would always ask them, whoever they are, to show me something I haven't seen before, and then I would have an amazing sighting. Or, they seem to be interacting with me a couple times, and I don't recommend this. I shined a green laser,
That's what I was going to ask you, if you did.
Stuff like that. But you really shouldn't do that, though. But, yeah, I would mentally, I think, possibly communicate with these things, and they seem to be reciprocating.
Uh-huh. Okay. And let's say someone wants to know, has any men in black ever messed with you?
Nope. I never have had that happen.
Yeah.
Amazingly.
Yeah. Okay, we have 5 minutes just to let you know to wrap up the show. You don't have a website. Have you ever thought of getting a website?
I did think about it. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I had one for a while, Sheilaaliens.net, but I just couldn't keep up with it. It was just too much. It was posting on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and a website. Just seems like a lot of trouble for something I'm doing for free or whatever, which, plus I was just lazy. I don't know. That's a lot to do.
Believe me, you're right about that. Yeah, after the show tonight, I'll spend an hour or 2 hours, getting working on this website. So what do you think about the Maelstrom Air Base disabling of the nuclear warheads? Have you ever looked into any of that? These are questions that are coming up. I don't know if you know any of these things or not, but these are questions that are coming up in the chat room.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I don't know the exact details, but yeah, they say that UFOs disabled the nuclear warheads, and they really don't have any other explanation for it. And there's UFO sighting that went along with it. I think if it's true, then maybe they're just trying to, save the planet or something.
Yeah, I've talked with Robert Hastings, who's done extensive research on that and written books, or at least one book. And so he thinks that that's exactly the reason why, is they're trying to stop us from blowing ourselves up, and we need that.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Sheila,
I just want to warn people real
Go
quick.
ahead. Yep.
Don't go to Sheilaaliens.com because I don't own that site. Some other guy owns Sheilaaliens.com.
Ah.
It's funny enough.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but you can go to Facebook.com/Sheilaalien with no S at the end.
Okay, is that
you'll
an
find
alien in the background or the parrot?
Oh, that's the parrot I told you. He
Yes.
might start talking.
Yep.
And it's going to start singing pretty soon.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, Sheila. Well, thanks so much. And just quickly go ahead and either you
Oh, my
or
God.
the parrot can tell us how to find you on Facebook or your YouTube channel.
I think we'll both tell you.
Okay.
It's Facebook.com/Sheilaalien. My YouTube channel is also Sheilalien. My Twitter is Sheilaaliens, which is how it should be, with an S at the end. And
All right.
that's about it. Sheilaaliens@yahoo.com. You can get a hold of me.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Sheila.
And thank you, Martin. Have a good day.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Well, that's it for our show today. If you missed any part of the show, you can catch it as a podcast. And you might want to mute your mic and a whole bunch of other free podcasts on our website, which is podcastufo.com. And you can check out links in our show notes. And I want to thank some people today. Of course, I want to thank Sheilaaliens, or Sheila Martin, for joining us. Keith Rowland, for producer of the Dark Matter Radio Network. And Carrie Lloyd Whitehouse for our music. Peggy Shunning for managing our Facebook page. You can check us out next week. And live right here on the Dark Matter Radio Network. And thanks for listening to us, and keep your eyes to the sky.